is a international network presentation.
To call and to speak to Kelly, use these numbers. Dial 605-472-5765. Then dial the access code 608060#. Then to join the session, which will be awesome. Congratulations, you are now ready. Tell everyone we expect 1,000 people listening on their phones from all over the world.
One Radio. Good evening, and welcome to Conscious Speaks. Let me tell you a little about the host. Her name is KELLIE J WRIGHT. You all know her. Tonight, be a part of the conversation. What it means to truly love yourself. Free of judgment, fear, ego, pride, and jealousy. She says, we learn to undo what we have accepted or taken on as part of our perception of self. We are free from negative self-talk. Start a 90-day transformation, and she will assist along your journey. Whenever two or more are in his presence is how this works. Kellie's ebook is how she walked her mind out of doubt and fear, one blog at a time for 13 weeks, into loving and acceptance of self. The first step is the hardest, and it will become a way of life. Once we know we can free our thoughts from fear, the work becomes a staple item to the goodness it provides. Life is a gift, so make sure you choose to wrap yours in a world that is created by and lived on your terms. KELLIE J WRIGHT is a successful radio show host, self-love transformational guide, business owner and voice, and author at www.internaljourneys.com. Kellie is on a passion-filled mission to help individuals discover their own truth through her actualized process called the 90-Day Transformation. Now, may I introduce to you, the audience, to the entire world, to the universe, to the light, KELLIE J WRIGHT. Oh yeah. There you are.
Gotta wait for the music to fade there all the way out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm jamming through that whole intro. It's like dun dun dun.
Oh yeah, well it's very
dun dun dun. Well, it gets better every time. I feel like you perfect it. Like there's these little things going on, and
oh yeah, all kinds of stuff.
I love it. I'm all jazzed up. I'm ready. I'm meditated through it. I'm ready to start as soon as you're like, go. How are you doing today? Hi, everybody out there. This is KELLIE J, checking in from Ashford, Washington, with clear skies.
Really? They're finally nice and clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have clear skies. It's there's still snow everywhere. Not on the roads per se, but where I live, everyone's yards are full of snow. Like I took Frey to go to the park. I thought I might be able to get to play with her there today, but that snow is really about 2 feet deep, and some places were hard and others weren't, so I was afraid she was going to hurt her leg, so I had to take her back. But yeah, still a lot of snow, but we're not in a snowstorm. It's past. We made it through. I felt like it'd been like 3 weeks. I was talking to Diana last night, and I said, I feel like I haven't talked to anyone for 2 weeks. It's like you go into that snow haze. I don't know why I'm having this conversation with you. You live in Florida.
Yeah, right?
It's like, yeah, it's 98 to 89 degrees. Is that what you said it was there today?
Yep, it was 89 degrees. And yeah, but the regular temperature, the regular average temperature here for this time of the year is 75.
Yeah,
See?
I think so.
So
I'm laughing because I never thought I'd be having weather conversations on one of my radio shows, but being that I live in Washington, you live in Florida, it's just kind of happening.
Well, you know what though? It more or less shows people we are 3,000 some odd miles away from each other, and we're speaking to each other like you're sitting here with me in the studio. The same thing.
Yeah.
Or I'm sitting in your living room with you. One of the two. People have to realize that there is no place on this planet during these shows that we can't touch.
I know. I'm pretty excited about that because, I'm going to be working with another woman or another lady, a guide or two, to do a trek in Nepal in Gayoko. If not this year, next. So, I've thought, you said I could even check in from there to do a show, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. Just bring your laptop with you.
Bring my laptop, trek it with me. One of those things where maybe I might want to be in my zone. I was talking to Diana about this. I don't do too much for myself right now because I'm really working. I've worked 6 years deeply in this transformational work, and you can't even imagine what that means. To the extent most of it was done in the first 3 years, so intensively, and then I've gotten to the point where it's 6 years, and I've never built anything like this. I didn't know it was coming, so I keep thinking there'll be this point where it gets a little bit breaks off and easier, but no, you just keep going. It keeps getting more intense.
Yeah, it does.
more to do, and so I have agreed to spirit, to my journey, to the process, to the work, to my clients, and like you say in the introduction, to the light, that I'm ready to give even more, and I don't know how that's possible at this point, but it's gonna happen. So
that reminds me too, Annette, on your shows, Annette, do you ever talk about getting downloads or whatever, and when the universe actually talks to you?
Yeah, I call it a download. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, all day today, I was so far out there. It was weird. It was really, really strange. So I made a couple of my little things, to other people, psychics, etc. And I said, "Yo, boys, you gotta give me some down low, on the thing that what the heck is happening." And they said, "Dude, you're attracting this stuff." And I said to myself, "Whoa!" I said, "That's really, really nice." But I tell you, it's like
it happened on a Monday, so it's a Kelly J day too. So you've got the double energy coming together.
There you go. I mean, it's kind of crazy. We got somebody in the phone room right now. I would like to, if I could, pick them up and see what's on their mind.
Yeah.
Maybe they have something unbelievable to add to the show, and that would be cool, right?
Right.
Okay.
They've got a cool question. We've been waiting for a cool question to come. Some people to call in and ask a question that they maybe is on their heart or mind, and maybe I could help them with. But
all righty, that person that's on area code 615. Who's on the phone?
Hello, Kelly J.
Hi, is this John?
Hello, Bob. Yes, it's me.
What are you doing? What are you doing in Nashville, Tennessee?
I was in Nashville, Tennessee for like 2 months, and I moved back because I got a warning shot. It said, "Get back to Arizona."
Yeah, you just miss. He just misses the Red Rocks. That's all.
I love Nashville. I went there a couple years ago for the Americana Music Award Festival. And actually, it wasn't a couple years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. And I bought my first pair of cowgirl boots there at Betty Boots down in Nashville, Tennessee. It's awesome. They're my favorite boots to this day. If you invest in good boots, they last. You reheal them. Really? Oh, it's awesome. So how are you doing today, John? Did you call in? Did you have a question, or did you call in just to say
well,
hi?
Not really.
Or?
I want to get other callers to call in here. I tell them to get out of their comfort zone and call Kelly J and get talking, because this thing called synchronicity, it's really an interesting thing.
Yeah,
He
that's
broke
one
up.
thing.
I couldn't hear what he said.
You didn't hear the thing he said?
I heard most of it, but it cut out.
Okay,
for me.
so yeah, but you're cutting out a little bit and that coming here, so it's something in the connection. But what John is more or less saying was he's getting on the phone up because he's showing people like, hey, you can call from anywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
you sure can. You can even call from Nashville when you're in Arizona.
yeah, there's a lot of people right now listening to the show, and out of all those people, they're all chicken. And the chat room is open, so they can put questions there
First
too.
of all, I want to say there's nothing wrong with being chicken. I want people to call in and listen. And if they don't want to ask a question, I know that you're the pusher. You're better at that than me. I think that listening creates questions. I think that if we listen, the question might come after the show. You were talking about getting a download and you weren't prepared for it, or they just kept coming. So anything that we focus on, I believe, is creating our reality. And so whatever we're choosing to put into our brain, whatever we're putting in through our ears, our ocular vision, or through our audio, it's reminding us, it's setting the tune, it's connecting to our frequency. So we will, at some point, if we're connecting to the work or to the conversation, we will get a question later. And so sometimes those questions don't come from us. It depends where we are in our frequency. It depends on where we are with our, with our knowing. But to be online and to listen, that is cool. I think that's amazing. I'm happy for it. For anyone listening, thank you for listening to the show. I've been doing radio for about 5 years now. I took a big break in between my third transformation and coming home. Bob had me as a guest on his radio show twice, and we finally we got to the point where we're doing this show, and I think that it's really going to be an amazing show. I think it already is. Being able to do the show from home was a big must. Being able to have it be on a podcast, a radio, not terrestrial, was a big plus. And now we've got a system where 1,000 people could call in and listen. So I do want 1,000. You said it, tell everyone 1,000 people to call in. I would love that. That's a goal. So if you listen and you like it, then you'll tell your friends. And, John, you said that you wanted people to call in and talk and ask questions and to be brave and to take that leap of faith. And your calling in is such a good thing to do that. And also, like Bob says, tell a friend. Bob tells me, Kelly, if you're talking to someone, ask them if they want to call in, So sometimes I think we forget that when we're talking out to the world, that we're not really talking to someone. And so the best way to get people involved is to really have those one-on-one conversations, to be in connection, to reach out and through a message or a phone call and say, hey, I love the show. Why don't you call and listen, and then let me know if you like it. Or if you think somebody could benefit from the show or has a question, you could tell them about the show. Don't you think that's a good way, Bob?
I do. I mean, we have, let's just put it this way. On my other show, and at my own show, if I'm talking about, say, transportation, because this is about anything in the whole world we talk about on the show. So if I'm talking about transportation and someone calls up and they want to tell me about a squirrel that was in their yard, you'd be surprised how fast that can turn right around and lead right into another conversation that you actually wind up finishing the show with.
Yeah, it's so true. I believe that, right?
It is so.
When you talk about transportation and squirrels, I'm like, I watch them transport acorns all over my yard.
Yeah.
There's an interesting. When I first moved to the cabin, I was looking around. I'm a new homeowner. I live in the forest now. even when I lived I was renting my cousin's place with my aunt and everyone, with the cows and the horses and everyone down there in Eatonville. It was different. Like, I'm literally in the middle of the forest, so I'm looking around. I'm like, what do I do? I don't have to mow the lawn, which is really cool. So I'm like, yay, that worked out perfectly, Spirit, thank you. And then I was like, so how do I tend my yard, right? How do I tend my yard? And then one day, my cabin, it has a slanted roof and it's metal. And I heard these ping, ping, pings on top of the roof, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And I realized they're the acorns, the pine cones falling from the trees on the roof. And then they're just, the next day, it must have been that day that they all decided to fall. They're everywhere. And I thought, maybe I should clean those up. And it didn't happen. And I'm glad it didn't, because I looked around and all the squirrels, they eat them. There's these little nuts and seeds in there, and that's where they get their food. If I would have cleaned all those up and threw them in the trash can, I probably would have had them outside wanting to get me. They took our food, right? So
it was funny.
Anything could lead to a great conversation.
I told you the Doolittle thing that we do here. I mean, it's like I have rabbits that come to my door. I've got squirrels that come to my door. Right? I feed rabbits carrots, and the squirrels get their nuts, their peanuts. I'm telling you, it's a crazy. I mean, down here that's weird, really, really weird. But even when we were up north, it was like that. We had animals all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and the truth is, like anything, we tend, right? So tending your yard, tending your body, tending your home, it's all how we take care of ourselves. I can bring all that back to self-love in a nutshell, no pun intended. If we love ourselves, thank you for the laugh. I'm not funny on purpose usually. That's good. Okay. So if we're tending our own yard, if we're tending our own heart, we've really tended our matter, right? That's our body. When we are aligned and we've got our mind and body connected, and we're feeling like we're really centered in our now, we start to look out, and then we are creators. It's when we're blocked in self-love, when we're blocked from mind and body, that our creation, our real-time creation, is not able to really fully sink in and see all the nuances, right? And so if we go slow, and if we trust where we are and don't try to get ahead of ourselves, we might see or learn something that we would have missed. For not getting out there to tend those acorns or the pine cones to pick them up, I didn't shame myself for not doing something that I thought I should do. I was interested when I realized that the squirrels were eating them, and I thought, well, I'll never do that because that's part of their food system. So anywhere we go in life, when we root ourselves down, we're going to get used to a new system. It's good to go slow. It's good to find our self-love and then realign. And I know that for me, when I moved, because I moved a lot during my life, part of my self-love problem, I always thought I loved myself, and I wrote about this once on the Facebook page. I said, I always had a good heart, but that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted the whole gamut. I knew that if I could work with my mind, which is something I discovered very young, that there was ways to perfect, being here and to use, our physiological body, our mind, our matter. But also I learned that when I was young. So then you got a lot of growing up. You just like, oh yeah, I realized that I tell the story all the time. My dad was tickling me. I didn't want to be tickled. And I told him, I'm just going to decide I'm not ticklish, Dad. And he's like, good luck with that. Right. And next time he did, I did that and it worked. And I was like, wow, that worked. I used mind over matter. I decided I didn't want to be ticklish. And then I overrode the reaction that was my natural reaction to it up until that point. That's when I knew, is like 6th or 7th grade, that there was something there. But we're growing up. We're children. We're growing. We're in this world. It's very, inviting. There's, you're hitting puberty. There's boys, there's girls, there's soccer, there's football, there's everything, art, music, and you're just overloaded. So anything that we're picking up along the way, again, like that we were talking again earlier, that seed, someone's hanging out on the phone line, they're listening to the show. It's not about calling in right now. We don't want to push ourselves outside of our comfort level if we're not ready. But being there to that comfort level, having that seed planted, allows us to catch up to it in real time later. And so that's what I did with my work, with my mental work. And that's what eventually led me to realizing, I have a good heart. I'm a good person. There's just like this, there wasn't balanced right for me. And it led me to the point where I downloaded the blogs, 1 week at a time. We use that word download, right?
Oh.
And yep, right. Did you catch that
Oh,
in the intro?
yeah, I got it.
That's what it's like. I said
Definitely got it.
and so, yeah, and so and walked my mind out of another set of destined, energy that was keeping me in this one circumference. If you know you could do something, or if you know you want to do something, or if you have a desire to do something and you just can't do it, you're already halfway there because you know where you want to go. It's getting through that invisible energy loop. What our mind is using, that track that's looping around like a favorite song, right? And they say, I haven't spoke on this too much. I guess it's coming out right now. They say it's something that I remember from, oh God, I didn't expect to go here. It's, you watch the cartoons. I mean, you probably remember these when we were kids, the Coyote and Tom and Jerry, all those old cartoons. There was one cartoon and they would talk about music soothes the savage beast, right? They play the music and then the cartoon, whoever's the bad guy, would kind of like fall asleep or something would happen. And I've always, music is such a powerful, evoking medium in life. Music, harmony, words. When we talk, right, everything is harmonic. It's energy. And people say, oh, music will save you. Well, it could also be your demise. It's how we connect to anything that creates our world. I mean, there was a time where I used sad songs to convince me that I was sad. And when I realized that I was in a trap with my favorite songs, I stopped listening to music for a long time during my transformation work because I was working on rebooting my entire system, my molecular system, my internal system. Any cue that was repetitive in my mind, trapped to things, I was working on resetting, so I had to block it out. And that again comes to, as we were talking at the beginning of the show, is when you move, when you want to change your matter, when you want to change your mind, when you reset yourself, when you move yourself out of your patterns, you have to create something that's different to give yourself time to adjust. Like the pine cones that fell, I wanted to move them, I didn't. Look, they've created bounty. You want to make a call, but you can't yet. You're on the phone. You're creating that first step forward. I wanted to be a better person because I knew it was a real thing you could do. It's not that I wanted to be better than anyone else. I wasn't thinking there was anything wrong with anyone else. I've always looked at me as I'm the person. Whenever anything went wrong, what was my part in it? If something is gone wrong, how do I do better next time? And that's what self-love is. It's not that when people say, oh, you need to meditate or you need to be more in touch with self-love, it's not that you don't have love, and it's not that you don't have self-love. It's that there might be a different way to access it that's going to allow you to play a more vibrant part in your life, to change that mental energy, that retaining wall that's got you trapped in that circle, in that movement of sound per se, that keeps you in that same track. If you want to jump tracks, which is a blog in my book, first you have to do a 90-day transformation. It's really, really important. And I didn't know I was going to do it. I didn't sit down and go, this is how I'm going to do it. I surrendered. I knew what I wanted. I knew that there was a place inside of me that was different than the one I was accessing. And I took a leap of faith and believed what I was pulling through. Anybody can. So if you are wanting to, talk about self-love and you do have a question and you can't bring yourself to call in on the radio yet, send me a message. There's a chat room. Where's the chat room, Bob? Can you tell them again?
It's all you have to do is go to www. Then you go to pyramid1network.com. You go on there. You look at the picture that has the pyramids on it. Click on the pictures. When you actually click on that picture with the pyramids on it, you go to the landing page. You scroll down the landing page. There is the chat room. Also on that page, to help everybody, it has archives, blogs, the other two channels. There's Pyramid 1, 2, and Pyramid 1, 3. So there's two other there. There
right.
is
one's in Australia and one's in Texas, right?
Yes. And you also have all of the addresses for TuneIn, Streama, Tindeck, downloading from the archive. It's all there. I mean, it's full of stuff.
Right, and why I asked Bob to mention all that is because, as in the intro, it is the hardest step you're going to make. I guarantee you. I've been trying to make that step my whole life. It didn't happen until 43, and I was really seeking these steps. I was actively pushing and asking, so it wasn't like I wasn't trying. I always say it's like the perfect storm has to happen for that window to open and go, okay, I guess you're ready. You really want to grow forward. And so if you hear something I say and you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense, I don't believe that, or how would that work for me, or, you know, what do you mean some music can trap you? Anything that pings your heart, that's where we go. Oh, I just got spirituals. That's how we work at Internal Journeys. We have conversations of what pings our heart. That's where we go, because that's the marker. That's the place marker that shows us there's something attached to that feeling, to that emotion, to that reaction, to that action that we get to go look at. And my gift is that I listen further so I can help you hear through your words. It's really cool. And if you have a question and you don't feel like you want to call in, that's okay. It's really private work, and it's really personal work. It's hard to be vulnerable. My whole life I've never been ashamed to be who I am, and that doesn't mean that that's good or bad. It's just who I came to be. And there are times I'm sure many of my friends wish I would have. And there are things I'm like, what? Like, why do you have to say that? I'm like, well, this is who I am. It's what I'm doing. So that allowed me to go, this work allowed me to go find out why. Why was I fearless? Because being fearless doesn't mean you don't have fear. Being afraid of love doesn't mean that you don't have love. We're trapped in different ways of how we perceive and attach to it. And all of it, if you believe you can clear it, can be done. That's the only trick. And it's not a trick, but you have to believe that you can change or have these things that you want or seek, because you're the only one who could really turn the key. There's just people out there that are built to assist, and we had to do the same work, and we had to be assisted too. So it really comes down to pride sometimes, because we're afraid to ask for help, we're afraid to be seen. So that's why the Internal Journeys process is really different. As a spiritual guide that self-actualized all this work and now leads you through the process that I used, I make it very clear that I don't do Skype with my clients. We don't do video FaceTime. We talk on the phone because it provides, I'm audio, so I hear, and I hear sound. Like I could tell with your breath where you're going in your energy and movement. So it's really important for me to be able to hear, but it's also important for you as a client to be able to connect and feel safe, that you can go, close your eyes, go into what we're talking about and feel it without that visual cue. I think visual cues sometimes, when we're doing deep work like this, could really connect into some blocks with pride or fear of rejection, or how we perceive or how we want to be perceived, which are all the personas that we actually break down. And if I could say something, it's when we break down these personas or these false selves, as we talk about, it's not that we throw these parts of us away. We just make peace with these parts of us that we created, because we did, and then we get to decide, well, how much of it do we want to keep? So we maybe need to upgrade that part. Yeah, I guess I'm not a good communicator. I thought I was. And when we can't see ourselves, we don't know who we're being. So I, as a mirror, help you see yourself gently, because, and sometimes not so gently, because we have to do that too. But as much as you'll allow me to show you who you are, that's the beauty of a 90-day transformation when you work with me. Did you say we have a caller, Bob?
Yeah, we do.
Yay!
Hold on one second. John, you're just hanging there. Okay. Who's calling us from area code 509?
Hello?
Hello, we got you.
Well, I'm not John, I'm Tim.
Hi, Tim.
And, yes, Miss Kelly.
Hi, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing really good. I was just going to tell you that you could take those pine cones after the squirrels get through with them and put them in bags and start fires with them. They're really great for starting fires.
He's right.
So like briquettes.
Right.
Those are our natural briquettes.
Just take them and burn them in the fire.
I absolutely love that idea, Tim. You always give me great gifts. Thank you so much. I'm going to do that because I like to. If for anybody out there listening, I literally am working my life to be a waking meditation. I live my life as a waking meditation. So I'm constantly working my spiritual practice. I'm constantly going further. I only work with 12 clients at a time. So when I'm doing my work, I'm open to receive from my clients, and then I'm able to connect through what we're doing because I follow along with their work during the week, so I can help see and connect dots. And so tending my yard is very spiritual for me. Chopping wood, very spiritual. And now I can pick up those acorns and I won't feel guilty. So there's probably a certain time of the year that you don't want to pick them up, and a certain time that you do. And if you think of that, I mean, I'll always refer everything back to rebirth and awakening. You know, there's always a process of beginning to end, to rebirth and life. And now I get to let the squirrels, the trees are going to shed the pine cones that they grew, right? And then they're going to feed the squirrels. And I think the deer, I think Janet, one of my friends on Facebook, told me the deers eat those too. And then now I can use them as natural briquettes. Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you have any wisdoms you want to share from the goats today?
No, but you share wisdom with me all the time, and some of the things I've gotten from your beautiful writings is trust and love, and put your guidance into positive thinking rather than dwelling on doubt and negativity, but go for the positive things that God gave us, you know. Your writings are so beautiful. I thank God daily that I get to read them. You're just grounded, and it helps me through my life of learning about spirituality. I can always learn more, and I learn a lot through you. You're just an incredible gift.
Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you. That really touches my heart. I work very hard, and I've worked very hard to be able to connect and to bring these gifts through, and so I appreciate that. That really makes me feel good. Thank you.
Well, I love you, and I'm going to let somebody else get on, but I wasn't scared to get on, and I think you're just one special spiritual woman. God bless you, Kelly.
No, I love you too. God bless you.
Hey, Tim, if you want to keep on listening, Annette, you can stay right where you are, Annette. I'll just take care of you, Annette, so we can't hear you, but you can hear us.
Yeah, I got it on the computer.
There you go.
I got those on the computer. It's so much better.
Bye now.
Bye-bye now.
I love you guys. Bob, you're doing a great job too, my friend.
Well, thank you very much.
Every week. Bye.
Thank you very much. You guys are definitely invited. Absolutely.
Every time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's
beautiful.
It's what I'd like to do, Annette, because of the time that we're going on, Annette, too, Annette. Now, I've been sending out some invites over to Europe, because there's a lot of people over there, Annette, that do listen to my shows, and I sent everybody out everything else. I said, well, you want to hear a great show? Come on in.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel really blessed to be doing the show with you, because I think that it's a really a good dynamic. I think that we work well together.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you know what? I tell you something. If you have the same beliefs and you're on the same plane and your heart is in the same place, it's miracles. And it doesn't happen all the time. Let's face it. I'm not going to walk down the street and see somebody walking their dog when I'm walking my dog and say, "Hi, how you doing? You're great." I'm going to turn around and say, "Hey, what's the matter with your dog? Messing with my dog, hey?"
That's true. When I talk about it at IN, I think one of the biggest things that makes us suffer internally is when we are trying to look for love outside of ourselves. We haven't learned how to soothe ourselves, comfort ourselves. We haven't found 100%, to stand up tall inside of ourselves, where we're like so sure of our self-worth that we define it, we create it. So we're still looking outside of us. So what happens is we're looking at places that aren't tending the right mirror. I wrote a new blog called Mirrors, and I submitted it to Spirituality and Health magazine, and I'm waiting back to hear from them. I did use it as a blog on the new website, but our mirrors are there to tend us. So how are you tending yourself, really? And it depends on who you're placing yourself in front of. So if you keep placing yourself in front of other mirrors that aren't tending a way for you to be positively interacting with yourself and your self-love and your reality and to build your world where you're a powerful co-creator, then you might be in the wrong room. I read a quote a long time ago in a magazine. I love science, and so it was a scientific magazine, a scientist, and she said, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so, and I was like, oh, and that's what that means is, you know, we got to constantly push ourselves to grow. And if we're not there, and if no one's pushing us, and if you're not pushing yourself, then you might be at the edge of that circumference that we talk about, right?
Yep.
And it's really hard to process because with the fear, if you haven't learned how to process to love without attachment, which is I could do a whole month segment on that, then you are still holding on to things from the past, and you can't move into that room or away from the mirrors that aren't tending you in a positive way. And so mirror work's really powerful when it comes to how are you building your world? You build your world through what you look at, and that's just not what you look at on the internet. It's not what you look at that you place in front of you or what you're eating. Those things are very true. It's the people that you surround with, the places that you go. Those are mirrors. Everything in the world, everything that creates our world is persons, places, or things. And they tell you this all the time. You can't change persons, places, or things, but you can change yourself. And the truth is, if you change yourself, you might change persons, places, or things, depending on how that works for you, depending on what you want in life. Do you want joy and abundance? Or do you want to struggle trying to find someone else to make you feel like you have it? And that's the question of mirror work. And it's never a negative. It's always a positive. But it feels hurtful sometimes when you have to make changes or you have to change to get through that barrier, right? You want peace and love. You want to not have a mind that judges, but yet you're not sure how to get through that invisible barrier. And if you do, what changes, right? That's the question that we qualify a lot. In self-love mastery and the deeper enlightenment work is, you know, things may change. And this is what I always try to tell people, but they don't have to. In the end, you might realize that you want to, though. And all of those things are like catch-22s, like 3 or 4 of them just in the atmosphere of your circumference. So I get how it might seem outside of you to actually make the leap, but I understand looking at it because I've looked at it and I continue to look through it. And I actually have 2 people who reached out to me to do transformation work, and we haven't got to the point where we're doing that yet. And I asked them, because I'm close enough to them, I said, so what is, you know, we're talking, we've been talking for a while, so tell me, what is it that keeps you from it? You know you want to do it, you reached out to me, I'm curious. And it all comes down to, you know, people will say time, money's not an issue. I mean, money's just love or frequency, so that can always be changed. I don't accept that one, and I work with my clients, but time, people think time is one. And the truth is, what I tell people out there, you will spend no more time than you already do thinking about yourself. You're just going to learn how to do it in a different way. You meet with me twice a week. That's two things you weren't doing before you decide to do the transformation work. Yeah, you're journaling. You know, some clients journal once a week, some journal all week. That's everyone's preference. I always say that you're paying to use me, I'm your guide. But the truth is, it's like how we connect and how we get to that point is we have to first be aware enough to go, things are going to change, but it's for my best, right? To love myself more is better than, you know, being stuck not loving myself and not being able to create. When we love ourselves fully, when we're balanced in love and fear, when we let go of all the internal judgments that were taken on or taken in at such an early age, I think a lot of times by accident, the people that we took these things on from our caretakers and, you know, our communities, people, they love us, but they were suffering and going through their own things. So once we free those old blocks, we're really free to be this amazing person. And we can give more, create more, participate more. We can give back. We can grow up, per se. You know, internal narcissism started 6 years ago this March, and you know, it was last year where I'm like, wow, she grew up. She, you know, and the first sentence to the book, to the whole journey is, I decided to grow in, not up. I really wanted to stop looking outward to try and find my connect. No matter how much money I made, no matter how, you know, many promotions I got, I realized that wasn't going to change any relationship with anyone I had, my parents, my family, anyone. It was only me that affected truly. And so, I looked inside, and I was at construction management and real estate development, business development worldwide for over 20 years. And I didn't even go to school for that. I just luckily had someone who wanted me to go work with them because they headhunted me and brought them, and I ended up in this career that I'm thankful for, to travel and be a part of learning how the world builds itself from that viewpoint and how big business is done, and then be able to deconstruct that and look at and use that in a spiritual sense. Everything that we've done up to the point we change is part of our journey. We don't shame it. We love it. It's created us. It's hand walked us. And everything, I believe, is a part of our book of self. And we will use those skills. We'll fall back on that. I was in construction management for over 20 years. And now I'm a spiritual guide. I always knew I would be doing something like what I'm doing, but I wasn't sure. And letting go of what the attachment was to working for someone else, having a paycheck every 2 weeks, trusting what I was born to do, following my gifts, realizing that love is just a frequency, and we could change the paradigm of the world to operate in the same place, but from love and fear. The whole world doesn't have to implode because now everyone loves themselves. It would actually be better. The money that is going around would be a love-based currency versus a fear-based currency. And what would change from that would be a lot. But it doesn't mean the whole world just disappears or becomes this outlandish utopia. It just means that people would be settled in their heart. They would realize that they love themselves and that there's nothing wrong with them, and that they can love others, and that it's not just about tending your own home and hearth. You have to do that first, but afterwards you can help your community, help your neighbors. And I'm a firm believer that if we don't judge ourselves, we don't have the ability. We don't have the script to judge others. If we've taken that script apart, if we deconstructed judgment and fear and realized the only time we use it is because someone's affected the pain inside of us, that we took that on, and it's our stuff we're feeling, and then we heal that, then we just look out in bliss. It's not like new, and it's not rocket science. It's just a dedication to want to be able to exist in a peaceful state of mind to create a peaceful life. Did you say someone's on the phone?
No. John is still on the phone, though. He's still listening.
John is. Hi, John. I'm excited that John found me. John and I are going to work together, and we have a journey starting, the self-love mastery journey. And he is he cracked me up in our orientation call, because I said something about the internal journeys, and he said the infernal journeys. And I said, it can definitely be like an infernal journey. Like, you're burning through these frequencies, right? You're burning through old ways of being. You'll hear people talk about it all the time. It's like rebooting the system. It's, upgrading from 1.0 to 5.0. I mean, to do that, we have to make room. We have to clear the way. And just like Mother Earth, sometimes it's a brush fire, right? You go in and just like burn these frequencies free.
You mentioned before that about love, and then last weekend I had said we were built to fall in love with ourselves, and then the world around us.
Yeah, I missed that one part where you said ourselves. Yes, I think that I agree. I mean, I didn't know that my whole life. I looked outside of me for love. Again, I will say this again and again because it's my story. It has nothing to do with my family or anyone. We all grow up in different ways, but growing up in divorce, and when I was growing up, I perceived abandonment issues and just the way things went on. And believe me, all my parents and all of our family, they loved us kids. They were all together. We had everyone there all the time. But it doesn't mean that you, as your own little entity coming into this world, doesn't decide how to perceive the world, because that's all you're doing. That's why I try to remind people, when we do this work, we're doing mother-father work on a deep level. I mean, I could go really deep with mother-father work, like to beyond, esoteric deep work, or we could just work on the natural first level, which is we are raised by our mother and father, and they love us, and how we grow up in that home helps us decide half of how we're communicating before we start trying to either find our own way or to implement and find ways around. I had the conversation the other day, kids are grown immediately. I mean, they're in their own little world as we're being raised. We have our friends at school, we have our our things that, you know, our languages. We're all trying, and it's more different now. Kids are way more grown up than I was in school.
Oh, yes, they are.
It's just way
yes,
different, you know. So to be able to help children, it would be, you know, it's a big part of the journey. I learning that I mistook cues and judged myself and created my self-worth from things that I perceived, and how that affected my whole life. I thought I always wanted to write a book to be able to help younger generation to go be able to see themselves, so they realize they don't have to make, you know, such big decisions so early, or the decisions that they're making really can change their whole life. Anybody that you choose to have in your life will change you. We talk about it in 90-day transformation in blog week 9 pieces. Like, you know, everyone that we come into contact with will change us as we change them. We don't know what it is, right? And so when you are young and you don't have any idea, you know, if you have some, and now kids are so much smarter, I think this knowledge can help them. I mean, they're getting ready for SATs and college football and sports, you know, in kindergarten like now. I mean, I have friends that are professional football players and coaches, and they're just like, the scouting that they used to do when I was young is starting in elementary school now, right? So if we can start to build a more self-aware society, starting with our children, but by healing us parents. I'm not a parent myself, but that's the way I look at it. I help parents heal. I help people that are my age or a little bit older or a little bit younger who are really paying attention. I help them as I help myself go in and heal those parts of me, so we could be better caregivers and stewards of the earth and for our children and for the planet, so that we could go in and be present and aware, and to help them, you know, see that, yeah, the world's different. We're not judging you, but we want you to have this information so you can make really good decisions. Because it's funny, it's a pipe dream, but growing up in divorce, my dream, you know, as I got older, would be to help people learn how to process their fears so they don't have to leave the ones they love, right? Anytime someone leaves, it's because there's fear and pain that hasn't been addressed. Sometimes it's so deep it can never be addressed and horrible things happen. Sometimes it doesn't. But whatever's going on, if we could get past that, we're not really arguing with the people in front of us, but we're arguing with the pain that's left over inside of us that hasn't been processed. We will literally change the face of the world, because it doesn't mean it gets better and everyone's happy every day. It just means that we go, oh, it's not you, it's me. Let me go figure out what's going on, right? Couples will give each other, learn how to love without attachment, so we can allow each other to be who we came to be, and not put people on pedestals, or, you know, try to get them to fit into a mold that you have to do A, B, and C for me to love you, right? And then people who don't know better, they try to fit into A, B, and C because they do love someone. These are old. This doesn't work. It's never worked. And so self-love, doing this work, freeing those internal blocks of pain and fear, allow us to do that, you know, and hopefully we could create a society where we can give that gift to our children, that they can have a long-lasting, long-term relationship. I think it's fascinating to me to think that you could meet someone, you know, and fall in love and spend your whole life with them, because you understand what it means to love without attachment, and to allow each other to be these beautiful entities here, living and breathing and growing together, and to have that story that you write. You know, at 49, my story, I always think, well, even if I did meet someone that I was going to have that opportunity with, it still wouldn't be as long as some of the people that I meet. I'm a sucker for love. When I meet couples that are older and they're married, I'm just like, how long have you been married? Oh, 65 years. How'd you meet?
Oh,
Tell me the story.
God.
How'd you propose to her? And I'm like, the first thing I ever, they're like, their faces light up, and I get to hear the proposal story, and whoever tells it first, I'll go, okay, now you tell me your version, because they both have different ways of remembering it, right? And you see the faces light up on these people, and they tell this story of love, and you know that you're looking at them, and it hasn't been easy. And that's the beautiful part of love, is it's not easy, but you have enough wherewithal to not leave. You have enough love for this person in front of you that you are willing to be with them through the dark nights of the soul. You're willing to be there, and you've done the work, and you can be. There's relationships I was in that I wish I would have been that person that I wasn't. I was a runner. and I didn't realize that it was me. And it's just because I was so afraid to love, because technically what happened was I was afraid to be abandoned, you know, growing up in divorce, having my dad, you know, leave and different things. Somehow in my psyche, I built up that I was someone that was always going to get left. I wasn't worthy enough. And what happened was I would make sure that I would get out before that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started researching my real time self, and that's the beauty of this transformation work. If you have the wherewithal, if you have the guts to really look at who you are and what you create in your life, you will just sometimes go, holy cow, that sucked, right? And you have to laugh. I can't argue enough at this point. And my clients laugh sometimes. They're like, you're always laughing. I'm like, life is funny. If we don't laugh, we're going to break.
It is.
Right?
That's only, well, wait a minute. Only if you've been around at least once and be able to look over your shoulder and go, ha! You know, what was I doing? What the heck? What? God dang it. You know, it's
I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, poor girl. She didn't know any better. I do now, so it's really fun.
This afternoon, we had a conversation, and I was thinking about a couple of things that I did when I was a kid, you know, and something came up with the news. Believe it or not, this is funny. There was in the news that they have this guy that's painting his face black, you know, because he was a black-faced guy and that, or whatever he was doing, and that, well, let's face it, I mean, everybody did something way back then, because this is
you're talking about one of those politicians. I don't do politics on this show.
No, but what I'm saying, though, it's just the reality of it. We were talking about the same thing, and I remember when I was in my first play, I mean professional play, okay, my face had to be white, and I had to paint it white, and that for this part, because I was a character. It was a portraying a character. It was not me, it was a character, but me was powering that character. We are all characters.
We're all characters. All the world's a stage. And back then, the way that the world was created, people didn't have parts for people to play. I just watched the King and I, the original version with Yul Brynner, and I'm like, excellent. Why are those white girls in there? You know, they're just painted really tan. Right. But back then, the way that the world was set up, there wasn't equal opportunity. I mean, we've had to fight hard for that, for the suffragettes, equal opportunity, for, you know, for everything to become equal, and it's still not. And it's a moving, breathing target. As soon as we win something else moves. So what this shows me is that the world's always a moving, breathing target, and we all are characters. I was looking up. You made me think of something. I was watching. I have this dream to go to Paris. I don't know why I haven't. I just really want to go to Paris, and I was looking for Paris movies, and Josephine Baker. That's it. I watched the movie Woody Allen did, something in Paris, and then I was looking up different characters in it, and then I looked up her. And then I thought, I wonder if there's a movie on her, a biography I could watch. And I was on Amazon, and it brought up some movie she was in. I was horrified at this movie, at just the way that the world was viewed back then and the part people played. I literally was horrified. I'm like, how did this happen? And you have to just decompress and realize that it was back then. But it's just it's so interesting to think, even you, if you could look back at yourself, you're going to look at yourself and be horrified at some of the parts you played in your life. If you do it with a fair eye, without judgment and love, you will go, yep, that was me. I just can't believe I did that, or I acted like that, or I used to think, really, because I grew up in a house where if it wasn't nice, you didn't talk about it, so I didn't learn how to communicate my feelings. And if you could think about a girl who grew up with abandonment issues and then doesn't know how to communicate, so anytime that the issue would get sparked, then I would shut down. And I could remember being in relationships where the person I was with was so honestly trying to get me to engage, to talk, really wanted to work. And I've talked about this before, I really felt like I would die if I talked about my dad. Whatever I had built it to be, and I'm sure I just made it worse and worse over the years. Like I said, listening to music that qualified all of my pain, you know, and being in relationships that I created that created the same relationship I had, so that was qualifying it. I spent my whole life to keep myself in the only version of love I knew, and that's the stuff you will find out about yourself if you do a proper transformation journey, is you see what you adapted, and then you see how you built to create that, because it's all you knew. That's why going in, if you just surrender and you find a place to someone you connect to work with, they will help you find those places with love so you can open those doors. I really thought that I remember being able to, after, in the middle of my second transformation, I was in a relationship and I was trying to use my words, and I was so excited that I could talk, and I was crying and saying, I don't think I'm doing this right, and I know I'm probably going to say stuff dumb or wrong. I was just so upset, but I go, but you know how happy I am that I've tried. Like, it's just like, I'd never tried before when that pain came to work through it. But the person that I was with had even worse issues with it than I did, and I watched that person close up, wrap up tight like a lobster, like just a shell. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's what I used to do to people. And I realized the pain that I had caused people I loved. And I never grew so much in that moment and never felt so sad. And yet for me and those I'd been in relationships with, for the pain perceived and taken on, for not understanding that that's what I was mirroring. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind to be able to go, oh, wow, I just changed. And this person is showing me what I used to look like, because they're there. And you cannot open your heart until you're ready. If anybody's out there listening in relationships with someone who doesn't know how to communicate, again, I will. It's just from my point of view. It was always me. From my point of view, I wanted to communicate with the people that were trying. I didn't know how to. I couldn't fathom opening up that chamber in my heart that, as a little girl, had decided, no way will I ever let anyone love me again, because that hurt so bad when my dad left, right? And so this is why I know from the work that I've done, and I've researched myself, I've torn myself apart my whole life to do this work, to free myself so I can help others. Now do it is what I know, because I did it. And it is amazing how we stunt ourselves, but it's also so liberating when we can free ourselves. Self-love will save the world, because it saves you. It saves your world. And everyone you love that's in it, you free them when you free yourself. You free them because you can talk. You free them because you can speak. You free them because you don't need them to be a certain way for you to love them. You free them because they don't worry if you're going to get triggered and then, not talk for a week or two, right? There's all kinds of things. Everybody's journey is different. This is mine. I share and live and grow out loud when it comes to me, as it does, because I'm spirit-led. I just, if I have a motive, it's just to help people break open their hearts so they could love more freely, because I've learned that it's the most beautiful thing that you can do.
Nice. Excellent. I'm telling you right now, I mean, everybody is just like, even all the listeners and everything else, there's like a straight line. Nobody is moving. They're not breathing. They're not doing anything. It's just going straight across.
We don't have a heartbeat, or is it just love currency flowing?
something like that. Something like that.
I have too much knowledge in my head. I'm always going to refer it to something scientific or whatever. What do you mean we don't have a heartbeat? It's going straight. We're all flatlining together.
Hey, you know what, though? I had a guest on last Wednesday, and just to sort of add this, she was saying, and she knows some people, believe me. She was saying that Earth is, or we being humans on Earth, are the babies of the universe.
Yeah.
The babies of the universe. So she said, what we have to do for ourselves is first love ourselves. I could have hugged that woman right over the thing, because she was taking the words right out of what I write. She said, love yourself, love everyone else, forgive the world, and then love the world. And she said, if you can do those four things, she said, it was, and then I read her, and what I had here on one of my screens, and she goes, see, we're on the same page. I was like, okay.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It was so nice.
As above, so below, I work with all the time. And, I believe that we come here to learn to break free of pain. and to learn how to really learn how to connect to self, to our faith, and to find that, we are all one, and that we can fluctuate and grow, that we're spiritual beings here in a human experience. And once we free those frequencies, we can change anything. We can change everything. Love is the only thing that'll do it, though. Fear is just unrealized love. So if you're stuck in fear, false ego, pain, pride, any of those things, I've learned, and I truly believe, and others do as well, that it's, unrealized love. So once we free that and realize, oh, maybe I mistook that, or oh, that person was doing the best they could, or oh, that person didn't not love me because they couldn't talk to me. They didn't know how to love themselves, or they didn't know how to let themselves be loved because they were so afraid of being loved. You have to be able to let go of what you believe and think for a second that there might be another way of seeing it, and then you will.
Well, there you go. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of your book. A Spiritual Transformation.
I just want to put this out there because this is my affirmation to the universe. Dear universe, I know who I'd like to have my book published with, and Diana's helping me for submission, and we hope to submit it within the next week. So I'm putting out anything and everything to ask you to please help me have my book published in paperback and picked up by whom we're sending it to. I will digress from that and say I self-published my book on Amazon. I'd like to thank Jeff Bezos. I wrote him a letter once and said, thank you for living your dream because it allowed me and so many others to live theirs. I self-published. You can buy it on Amazon. It's under KELLIE J WRIGHT, Internal Journeys of Spiritual Transformation. It's an ebook. You can also see quite a few reviews there from clients and people who've read the book. But yeah, go there, buy a copy. Check out my website, www.internaljourneys.com, and that's a place where you can find out more about the process. If you have any questions, reach out. There's an email there, and I would love to hear from you. I always tell people, don't be afraid to call me. I'm not that person who's going to try. I'm not that tough salesperson. If you make a call, I'm so excited for you that you took that first step in. And if you don't, then I don't take anything personally. At least I got to talk to you and give you a tool and help you see that you're brave enough to take that first look, and wherever it takes you, you've just moved further into self-love. So don't be afraid to reach out. Thank you, Bob. Charles. Thank you, Pyramid One Network, for hosting this beautiful worldwide self-love. I truly believe that we can do this worldwide self-love. I know we can on this radio station. So we're looking forward to people calling in or listening from all over the world.
It's possible. And all you got to do is just call in or write, or your email is
KELLIEJ@internaljourneys.com.
Well, there you go. See, you can send it there. Now, if you have a tough time not remembering that, just send it into bobcharlesshow@live.com. It's so easy. It's like falling off a log. You send it to me, and I just say, could you please send this to, and I will send them anywhere you ask. So there you go. Meanwhile, oh, yeah.
Yay, we get to dance now.
Oh, yeah. You've been listening to Conscious Speaks Radio, right here on Pyramid One Radio Network. Everyone out there, God bless y'all. Bob Charles. Out!